Hey, I'm the Kinky Polyatheist. Today on the show, we're going to talk about the scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset and how it applies to relationships. If you haven't already heard about the difference between scarcity mindset and abundance mindset, you definitely want to listen to that part because it can change your life. If you already know about scarcity versus abundance, then imagine what it would be like if you applied that to relationships. That's what we're going to talk about today. And by the end of this video, I'm hoping you're going to see relationships in all facets of life through a whole new light. Stick around. Welcome to the show. Around here, we dispel shame around sex, sexuality, spirituality, and relationships. And today we're going to be talking about mostly relationships, and we're going to explore the idea of what is an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, and what happens when you view relationships through an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. And if you have any questions for me, I'd love to answer them. So you can email me at ask@kinkypolyatheist.com. So I guess we're going to have to start this all off with what is the difference between scarcity versus abundance? Humans have something called selective attention. And what that basically means is what we focus on tends to multiply. So if you think about your subconscious, it's always back there working. It's always trying to help you out. And if you're looking for something, your subconscious is just going to start noticing it everywhere. For example, the day that you buy a white SUV, you're going to be driving your SUV and you're going to be looking around and suddenly you're going to see all these white vehicles and SUVs on the road. It's like now that I bought a white SUV, suddenly everyone's driving one. The day that you decide, well, maybe I'll sell this SUV and get a red sporty something something. Suddenly you start seeing all the red cars, all the sporty cars, and of course all the red sporty cars just everywhere. It's like suddenly they just start to appear. What we focus on multiplies. If you'd like a really cool example of this whole selective focus thing, do a Google search for something called the invisible gorilla. So the concept of what we focus on multiplies, unfortunately, has been hijacked. There's so many spiritual, religious, superstitious, woo-woo, hippie BS out there where they hijack this concept and try to turn it into an overarching plan for the universe, or how a higher influence is coming down and just changing things, when in reality our subconscious is just looking for something, and what we focus on multiplies. So I want to demystify that part. And I also want to demystify scarcity versus abundance. Because again, there are a lot of superstitious people who try to hijack this idea and make it all spiritual and there's a higher power and now you're influencing creating the world. It doesn't have to be that complicated. What you focus on multiplies. So if you're going to focus on things, are you focusing on the positive or the negative? The easiest example I have come up with is water fountains. So I live in a desert. I'm in Las Vegas. Do I freak out every day when I walk out of my house because there's no water out there? Or do I take comfort in the fact that everywhere I go, there's going to be a water fountain, or there's going to be some fast food place I could stop in and just ask for a cup of water? Do you see that? Do you see how I could walk out of my house in a desert and be terrified that I won't have enough water to drink for the rest of the day and worry about it non-stop and have that worry multiply because what my mind focused on multiplies. I could completely freak myself out. I could start coming up with these crazy scenarios. What if my car breaks down and I don't have water and I'm stuck on the side of the road? And what if I die? At the same time, I could take the opposite approach. I could say, everywhere I go, there's going to be a water fountain. Everywhere I go, I could walk into a fast food place and get a cup of water. Everywhere I go, if I absolutely needed water, I'm sure I could find somebody who would help me out. Everywhere I go, there's a grocery store and I could just buy a gallon of water, or a gas station and get a gallon of water. So can you see the difference between the scarcity versus abundance mindset? The scarcity is that when I leave the house, water is scarce and I should worry about it. The abundance approach is that water is everywhere, even in this desert, and there's nothing to worry about. Can you see the difference? So this whole scarcity versus abundance thing, you can apply it to just about anything. You could apply it to opportunities that arrive during the day. You could apply it to job opportunities. You could apply it to money, happiness, And now I want to apply it to relationships. If you have a mindset that focuses on there being only one right person out there for you, does that sound like scarcity or abundance? What happens if you're looking at all these people out there and you feel like, man, none of them are for me and I'm never going to find the right person. And then when you do find the right person, you're kind of worried about losing them. Like you latch on and you want to get married forever because what if they find somebody else? What if they're the perfect person for you, but they don't see you as the perfect person for them? How do you lock them down? I mean, I'm getting into some codependent stuff here, right? I'm getting into a worthiness conversation as well. But all that starts with scarcity. There's the one, and you may or may not ever find them, and if you do, you better hold on to them. That's where a lot of us get in our relationships. We have somebody and we don't want to lose them. But then what happens? Eventually, you probably break up, right? Even marriages are like 50-50 on how long they're going to last. So let's say you did have a marriage and you found the one, and after 10 years, it didn't work out and you break up. And you're just heartbroken. And you're upset and your friends are trying to cheer you up. And what do they say? They say, hey, there's plenty of fish in the sea. What do you think that's doing right there? They're trying to get you back into an abundance mindset about relationships and dating. There are plenty of fish in the sea. You're gonna meet someone because there's so many millions and billions of people in this world. There's gotta be the right one for you. And suddenly, they've got you back into abundance. So, and what happens? You find somebody under this whole, there's a plenty of fish in the sea approach. And the more you're together, you start to lose that abundance and start to go back towards scarcity because you're focusing on one person. What you focus on multiplies. Now you're focusing on one relationship with one person that has to be your everything. And all those other relationships, they are not the same anymore. Right? You almost don't even see them the way you're focusing on this one relationship. And in some cases, that's good, right? I absolutely want to say there are many people out there who have a marriage that has lasted their whole life and they're happy. And I'm very happy for them. But there's a lot of us out there who end up in these relationships that it's a lot. It's a lot to put on one person to demand that they are your everything. And to have those demands put on you. I have to be your everything. That's a lot. What if we did the opposite? What if we never lost that plenty of fish in the sea approach? What if even when you're dating somebody, you're still dating other people? And what if you were allowed to date other people? And every single person you meet is a unique experience that you're allowed to have. You're no longer asking anyone to be your everything, and you're not letting anyone demand that of you either. There are plenty of fish in the sea, and you get to swim with all of them. And what if all the people you're interacting with are not upset about you interacting with other people? What if you were allowed to have lots of friends and lots of intimate friends and just a lot of relationships and everyone involved was rooting for you? What if you were allowed to be intimate in unique ways with unique people and nobody would penalize you for it? What if you weren't going to get in trouble just because you want to spend time with people? Here's another example. What's your type? And you know what I mean by that, right? Like, is it the classic blonde hair, blue eyes, perfect abs type? Is it the rough and tumble type? Is that your type? Or maybe your type is the cute, quiet, sweet ones. Or maybe your type is the powerful, goal-crushing ones. Maybe you're attracted to CEOs of companies. What if you didn't have to pick just one type? What if you could lick the blonde's abs and just go wrestle with the rough and tumble one, adore the cute one, and get dominated by the powerful one? What if you were allowed to experience all of that? That's exactly it. Welcome to an abundance approach to relationships. You can have it all. You are allowed to have it all. You're allowed to have all the fun, all the happiness, all the interactions, all the unique intimacy, and yes, all of the sex. What's funny is you're going to run into all the people who bought into the idea that they're not allowed. They're not allowed to have it all. They're not allowed to enjoy every person they meet. and they're going to be jealous about it. They're going to be upset that you have not put all those limits on yourself. You're okay with relationships with multiple people. You're okay with other people having fun with other people that might not involve you. That's fine. Because you know there are not only plenty of fish in the sea, but they all want to swim with you. Unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of people who have bought into this relationship scarcity, and they're going to judge you. They're going to see you as a monster who's breaking all the rules. Even though, whose rules are they? Where did they come from? Why did we buy into them? When were they pushed on us? Are these rules actually helping you find happiness in your own life? Are these rules for only being allowed to be with one person and that other person only being allowed to be with you? Are those rules that are making you more happy? Are those rules taking your happiness into account and what you want into account? Or are they just kind of like what's been pushed onto you and what you've been told is right? Who benefits from these rules? If you don't. If you don't benefit from the rules, if you have to cut people out of your life to be monogamous, who's actually benefiting from these rules even existing? And I think that's a really good question. That's good for another video at another time. But think about it. Who benefits? Why is it a problem if I say I'm in love with 4 people and the 5 of us are happy and operating just fine and have nothing to do with you? Why is that a problem for monogamous people? It doesn't hurt them, doesn't harm them, yet monogamous culture makes us the enemy and puts us in a position to be attacked and told we're doing it wrong. Because we have something that everybody wants, which is a lot of love, a lot of relationships, no limits. Yet monogamous culture needs to tell us that we're wrong for being happy, for being together, for being in love as a group, or multiple independent, however your polycule works. And I've got a video on polycules right here. We're not wrong. We just didn't buy into this whole scarcity approach to love and relationships. You could also have it all too if you wanted. Of course, the monogamous culture is probably going to shun you, and you're going to have to find a whole new group of friends to interact with. You'll have to find a community of poly people, but they're out there. You can find communities of poly people who just want to love you for who you are and place no demands on you. So there you have it. The difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset when it comes to relationships. Is there only one and you have to search for them and never let them go? Or are there an abundance of people out there, all ready to interact with you in fun and unique ways, and no one is going to penalize you for having more than one friend and more than one intimate relationship? Which one do you think is going to ultimately lead to your happiness and you enjoying as much as life has to offer without hurting anybody? Again, all these relationships that I'm speaking of, all these open relationships, all these poly relationships, they're all upfront, they're all consensual. And that's what makes them ethical. If they weren't consensual, they wouldn't be ethical. And that's usually the first thing a lot of monogamous culture jumps on, as far as this whole thing is just you cheating on me. No. If our agreement is that we're going to be exclusive, then yes, me being with somebody else would be cheating on you. But if our agreement is that we're both allowed to explore every relationship to its fullest, then it's not cheating. It's being open and honest. So I hope that was helpful. I'm curious, do you have an abundance mindset for relationships or a scarcity mindset for relationships? And how does that weigh in with your self-worth? Drop something in the comments and let other people understand how you view the world and relationships. I'm the Kinky Polyatheist. Please like, subscribe, and share. You can send questions to ask@kinkypolyatheist.com, and I'll get them as soon as I can. And before I sign off, I just want to wish you all the love, fun, happiness, and everything life has to offer. And I want to wish you not putting yourself in a box where you're not allowed to enjoy life. See you next time. Hey, I'm the Kinky Polyatheist. Welcome to the show. And today we're going to talk about how...